I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start out with a customary roll call. Doug?
Present.
Jeff is not. Kathy?
Yes.
I'm present. Bob's present. Jody's absent. And Jerry's. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of October 24th, 2017. Does anyone have any questions about the minutes from October?
Yeah, I do. On the Ethan Ward subdivision.
Okay, speak up a little.
On the Ethan Ward subdivision,
Yeah.
it says it has on-lot sewage disposal permit and a driveway permit. There was no driveway permit attached to that, and to my knowledge, the sewage permit has not been issued yet.
Those were just notes I took from what the, his attorney said that was here.
And he's here with us tonight, right?
Yes,
You were here for that one, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, then indicate in the minutes, attorney, your name is?
Josh Carroll.
So Josh Carroll says, if that's what you said. that's
Yes.
Please spell your last name, Josh.
Carroll.
I thought you said Terrell, that's why.
Oh,
Okay, Josh Carroll.
fine. And the first item there that should publicly specify that the subdivision is on Crane Road.
I just copied that off, yeah.
281 is probably the address.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it's actually the subdivision we approved for Crane Road. I don't know the,
Is that West Alexander?
no, we played it off. I don't know the address there, but this could be Crane Road.
Oops.
Pass on-lot sewage disposal permit because that can be confused and down here.
Well, we just
All
indicated,
we had was the application.
indicating here that the attorney has indicated that. I'll move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Can you guys speak up, or can we turn the HVAC off during the meeting?
Doug approved the minutes. And Bob Morgan seconded it. Any further discussion? Vote, Doug Teagarden,
Yes.
Jeff absent. Kathy?
Yes.
I'm yes. Bob?
Yes.
Absent. Jerry? Motion is passed. Minutes are accepted as they are. We have this down as an application for a building permit for Ethan Ward expansion of his car wash. We've got several names on this. We're trying to figure out whose subdivision or whose car wash it is. We got-
my understanding is it's owned by Atheans, which is an LLC.
Okay. Okay, this one. I think that's in here, so it's off. I sent out a copy of the building permit. Did you all get that?
A copy of the building permit?
Yeah, the building permit itself to have the commercial building permit application.
Oh, I have one.
Okay, you got one filled out. We didn't get one back filled out.
I guess I'm a little confused.
Okay. I think you are.
I don't know why this is before the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission doesn't review or authorize building permits. So I'm a little confused as to why it's here.
Okay, well, we have a Garfield Township commercial building permit, and they say that it only goes through the planning commission, and we make adjustments or requirements that we see need to be done before it goes to the supervisors.
That's not accurate.
Okay.
My understanding of the process is you've adopted the Uniform Construction Code. Under the Uniform Construction Code, the person that's responsible for reviewing, issuing, or denying permits is your building code inspector. And in fact, it's required under that particular act that that person have the training and experience and continuing training in order to do that. There is no process by which a building permit comes before the planning commission.
So as the building code officer, I'm assuming you're talking about Doug Kubovich?
I don't know
The
his name.
BCL.
Okay, yes,
Okay, has he issued a building permit?
he has not.
Okay, tell me he has not.
Excuse me?
Why has he not? No.
I can't answer that. We submitted the building permit and we have not received anything since the application was made, I believe, November 13th.
Okay.
So the building permit you submitted to Doug? is that-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I assume that the original building permit, when the car wash was built originally,
Yes.
that's the same process. It went to Doug Chiovich?
Yes.
Okay. That's why we never saw anything about it.
Correct. It was issued, it was sent to him. He issued the building permit. The building was constructed and then he issued the occupancy permit as well.
So basically what you're saying is our subdivision and land development ordinance is worthless.
I'm not
Our
saying
land
that at all.
development requires all land development to come through the planning commission.
That's
I mean,
correct.
there's a whole ordinance here that
Mhm.
states everything that needs to be done
That's
before they
correct.
get their building permit.
Yes and no. Yes, if this were land development, it would have to come before planning commission. It does
It's
not meet
not
the.
land development?
It is not.
That's your interpretation of it.
They're moving dirt.
I would say that's the Supreme Court of
Okay,
Pennsylvania's determination.
Do you have the drawing that we were sent on this?
Yeah, that's right here.
Can I see it?
Where did it go? Hang on. This,
Yeah, that looks like it. Can anybody tell me what this means? At all? Can anybody show me where there's a highway, a legend, a direction,
Existing building,
existing bill, anything that the subdivision or
water
land
lines,
development order
sewage lines.
is on this? I can't figure out which way it goes.
can you help us out there, Mr. Carroll? Can you,
I-
have you seen
I'll-
that?
I have.
You know,
Um,
explain, that's the purpose of this meeting, is to explain, I see there's another set of drawings there, and that's certainly a
Yeah,
lot
but this,
more.
it doesn't relate to that at all. It shows, there's nothing in this drawing that shows that this is the
Well-
existing building and this is what is proposed.
Is
It shows what's proposed,
there,
but in relationship.
is it a project in addition to a building? Or is it a separate,
My understanding is it is an accessory structure for storage.
so it's a separate building, is what answers the question?
I, very candidly, I don't know if it's attached to the building or if it is a separate standalone building.
And I don't either, and
I
from this,
can't answer
I can't tell from that.
Can we ask a question? Where is the property owner? Why is he not here explaining the things to us that you obviously don't have all the answers to that we need? Where is he?
He asked me to come as I represent him, so.
Yeah.
But you don't have the answers we need.
Ma'am, with all due respect, this isn't the proper forum to discuss those. If there's additional information
Yeah,
that the building code inspector needs, then he needs to request that. The
Okay.
planning commission doesn't review those.
Okay, back to the point of the number of buildings. The definition from the MPC.
Mm-hmm.
Under land development, defines land development, any of the following activities. Number one, improvement of one lot or two or more contiguous lots, tracts, or parcels of land for any purpose involving, number one, a group of two or more residential or non-residential buildings, whether proposed initially or cumulatively, or a single non-residential building on a lot or lots regardless of the number of occupants or tenure. Or two, division or allocation of land or space, whether initially or cumulatively between or among two or more existing or prospective occupants by means of or for the purpose of streets, common areas, leaseholds, condominiums, building groups, or other features. 2, a subdivision of land, or 3, development in accordance with section 503(1.1). And our attorney has advised us if it, our attorney has advised us if it's more than one building, that it falls under land development. And this ordinance that's been in place in Donald Township for 25 or 30 years requires a certain process that the planning commission review what's happening on those kind of sites. And this clearly, if it's one or more, if it's more than one building, if it's 2 or more buildings, simply letting the planning commission in on what's happening is not unreasonable, especially considering how that lot is situated, and we have a high occupancy highway that runs right in front of it.
Well, Mr. Ward applied for and has received a highway occupancy.
I understand that.
One, but number 2, with all due respect to what your legal counsel told you, that is incorrect. That is not the definition of land development.
Well, I'm not going to argue for him.
Right, I mean, and I'm not going to
You know,
either. I mean, it's not.
But I don't certainly think it, that we would be doing our job as supervisors. In fact, I can tell you examples over the years where we've not been involved, and we have been involved in granted structures that later become troublesome, and people could potentially be hurt or even killed because of it. And I am not going to be part of that without looking at the due safety issues that are regard the same kind of thing. And we'd be remiss if we did that. And I have no problem with additions to car wash, but giving a drawing like we had here certainly doesn't give me enough information to know, and my belief, that it falls under the definition of land development, as well as some of the members here, and I wish Jody was here, township manager from Chartiers Township, also has her interpretation that is land development.
Again,
I guess that's how attorneys make money, is by differing in opinions. And we certainly know that firsthand here in Donington.
well, that's my purpose is not to make money. My purpose is
I
to just
understand.
represent my client. However,
Your benevolence is amazing. But go ahead.
thank you.
Yeah.
It clearly does not meet the statutory, nor does it meet the legal definition of land development. So therefore, it was not submitted to the planning commission. It was submitted to the building code inspector, and that's our position.
And my understanding, and I have not talked firsthand with the building code officer, but he has relayed to other township officials, he did not issue the permit because he believed it needed to go before the planning commission.
I can't tell you what he said, didn't
And
say,
I don't,
or
and I
didn't
didn't hear, and I
represent.
did not hear it firsthand. So
I can tell
that's
you we made
hearsay.
application, and at this point, the only thing we received was a request to appear here.
And unfortunately, we don't have legal counsel here tonight, so we can't, we're not being advised on what we need to do to make this thing go forward.
And that obviously I can't advise you because I don't represent you, but I can just tell you that's what our position
If
is.
you're representing the property owner,
Mhm.
you should be able to come up there and take this drawing and take a pencil out and say, this is going here, this is north, so we know where the highway goes by. And it's this many feet from the right-of-way of a 66-foot right-of-way,
Again,
and a 60-foot setback.
not to sound repetitive, but
And I understand, you know about the law, and that's your forte.
it's not something that the planning commission doesn't approve or deny building permits. So
Understood, I agree with that.
I don't know what else I can say other than,
We're not really approving the building permit.
The building permit's
We're
not up
approving the land development. And there's 2 different names on those papers from the architect.
Yeah, no.
One says the Cliff Reed Car Wash, don't know what that is, and then some of them say the Claysville Car Wash.
And
And
this is
his
the
application
this
says
is the
the
interim.
Ethan's Car Wash.
Yeah.
Whose car wash is it?
Well,
Nothing's consistent.
I don't know when those plans were drawn. They perhaps were drawn before the name was changed or before there was a corporation
Do
created.
they show the plots of ground on those here?
That's already part of
It's
it.
just the water recovery system.
Does it make a
and the
difference
building.
That's-
whose
that's
car
not-
wash it is?
They don't.
Ownership shouldn't matter to
No, the paperwork,
being compliant.
paperwork should be consistent though.
I have a question while you guys are looking at that. Eddie has a good point. Ownership shouldn't matter as long as it meets all the requirements and is in compliance. But more importantly, you said you were advised by the attorney, and then you just said that you weren't advised by the attorney.
No, look, we're not being advised tonight by the attorney.
Okay, but as I recall, the attorney, the law firm resigned a couple months ago.
JD, we're not arguing that. You made that point last meeting.
Well, either resigned or he didn't. Why are we continuing to pay an attorney that, or solicitor that doesn't represent us anymore? And why are we wasting money running everything by him if he has resigned? Obviously, he doesn't want to be our solicitor. And it's the same solicitor that resigned that you're paying to advise you, is that correct?
What is it? You tell me, JD.
I'm asking you.
You know that. You just want to beat it to death. Mr.
Beating
Wright, I'm
it to death
embarrassed by
is a
what you have to
simple,
say
valid
here.
question. I don't think asking a question one time is beating something to death.
You
It's
have
a
to
simple,
answer-
valid question.
You had that answer at the last meeting, supervisor.
No, as I recall, I didn't get an answer.
The supervisors actually even voted to continue their services on a per diem basis. And was passed by the board.
I just don't understand how somebody can resign and then still represent.
I don't know what the availability of legal counsel would be. But that's certainly something that, my opinion is that we need the legal advice.
Oh, obviously, we need someone to tell us whether it needs to go through us and just need to go back to Doug Drillis. But my problem, what I see is the original problem was the car wash was built in Donegal Township, and Donegal Township was not given notice it was even being built the first time.
No, I don't think that's
It
true.
was just there.
I think that, you mean the planning commission, but I think there was a building permit issued.
Probably,
Yeah,
just
I'm
like
assuming.
Mr. Carroll's
I'm-
saying,
I'm assuming
that
so.
Doug Shovich issued it, but I'm just saying, you know, my thing.
But Lee, that's done in the past. That's irrelevant to what's before you. You're not here to judge something that's in the past that was done properly and already done. You got a plan before you to make a decision on, not something
I'm
from the
not-
past. You
I'm
can't
just
hold that.
asking the
And when- and
question,
I
just
think
like
I'm-
you asked questions.
Well, no, you said that's the original problem.
Well, I think I
That
made
was
this,
my original question.
Lee, I think I made a statement previously that we discussed that we believed at that time even, that before even the addition to it, that it fell under the definitions of land development. We actually discussed that particular building.
I have a question on that. And this is just from personal experience. I'd like to know what changed, because back whenever we were gonna switch over, when the state passed the law and we was all gonna have to be under the UCC. Remember that?
Yeah,
Okay. There was a mad dash to get building permits. Right before that. I actually did it.
right, I knew people that did.
Okay? I simply sat down with a piece of paper, sketched out what I wanted to do, came up here, paid the money, and got a building permit. It never went before the planning commission. And I never did the job. You know, I wanted to do an addition. I never did it. The county assessor came out months later, barely got out of her car. She said, "Oh, I'm here to check." And I said, "I never did it." She got back in her car and left. So what changed between now and then?
Nothing, this ordinance was in effect then. If it met the definition of
Well, how
land
did I get a
development,
building permit then?
if it meets that definition of land development,
Well, I was doing.
I can't answer for why anybody did that.
I was doing an addition.
I can't tell you why.
Well, you're doing the same thing I did, Ed, where I tried to answer a question that happened to something in the past.
An addition is something certainly different than a separate building. That's
Okay,
where it
I
comes
have a
into.
question about currently. Now I'm super confused. What about the new building for the township then that's being built right next to the old building? Because that would meet the same definition, correct? So we should.
If it's on the same,
So we
parcel.
should have had plans here for the, whatever building's being built over there. for us to
Excellent
look
point.
at. But that didn't happen, did it? 'Cause-
not that I'm aware of.
I mean, I know I missed one meeting in the fall, so I didn't know if it happened or not, but. And then the other discussion we had was about Rain Resources tank thing, but that, our own solicitor said wasn't land development, even though it was building, because my argument was exactly what you said, Kathy, it's something happening on the land, why didn't it come here? But he said it didn't have to.
Another excellent point. Didn't know we have a nice level head up there.
No, I'm wondering, it's confusing, because some things do and some things don't, apparently.
The only thing I can say is that while those are two very valid points, land development has been defined by the Supreme Court as significant, meaning not a shed, not an accessory structure, not a billboard, not a, pole, not a, even and sometimes not an addition to a building. In fact, I can tell you there's a case where there was a strip mall, they built a whole separate building as a doctor's office, and that's not considered land development. Land development is considered something large scale. This is clearly not large scale. And again, I can only tell you what my experience and research is.
Is there a square footage or something that is considered?
There are some sections that deal with square footage. I believe it is, there are exemptions, and things under a certain square footage, generally 1,000 square feet, is exempted. That's just the general, and my understanding is that this township has just adopted the MPC with no changes. You could have or can make changes to that if you want to within that framework, but my understanding is it's just the general language, and generally accessory structures, side building expansions, things that are under less than 1,000 square feet are exempted.
Can I ask a question? What do other townships do?
I have no idea.
Do they require, quote, land development?
If
People to come before them and get,
the planning commission,
yeah,
if they have a planning commission and it meets the definition of land development, then yes.
did they use their own definition of land development?
Well, no, land development's been defined by the courts.
It's also defined by the MPC.
So that's what you were saying. it has to
Okay,
be
well,
major.
then why is it if that is the case,
Mhm.
and the MPC is Pennsylvania's municipal planning code,
Mhm.
okay? And it's, quote, been defined by the courts,
Mhm.
then why is it that as Pennsylvania law, it's not by the courts? I mean, if their definition doesn't meet,
And-
they don't meet-
Let
if
me
the-
try and answer that as I think what you're asking. What Mr. Teagarden read is exactly what the MPC says. He's
That's
absolutely
correct.
correct. Since the time that that's been adopted, there have been several lawsuits and cases filed, and the court has defined what that language means. And based upon what the court has found, it applies to large-scale development. The idea being, obviously, that if you guys have a housing development coming in, or a mall, or something along those lines, certainly that's gonna be something that affects water, sewage, streets, lights, so those are things that come before the planning commission. Smaller things,
Times large scale.
That's what I was at, that's why I asked if there's square footage
Yeah.
or how it's termed.
The issue that I particularly have with this parcel is I want to make sure that whatever's being done there, and I don't have a clue what's being done according to what I've seen, that it's safe. That is a dangerous section of road through there. I've traveled it all my life, and it's, is it meet the requirements? Is it back off the highway? how would it have to do with the water or sewer lines that may be buried there? I don't know. Does it make it, who looks out for that? Does the property owner look out for that?
It depends. It depends on what if you have zoning, depends on what your zoning says. If you've adopted the MPC and made any changes to that.
Not your water or sewer lines.
We have a vested interest in it,
That's,
believe me.
as far as the water and the sewage lines and anything that's buried, that's the landowner's responsibility. He calls 211 or 411, whatever it is, they come out, you pay a fee to them. I did that when I had my excavating business. You're responsible for it, believe me, I know, if I did call one time and I hit a phone line, it cost me $2,000. That does not fall on anybody but the landowner. And one other thing I was curious, you're talking about, because they were moving dirt, Kathy, you said that.
Mhm.
As far as my recollection of reading on that, law on that, and they consider an acre or more of dirt moved before they consider a large.
You're talking about the county? With
As far as the
conservation.
MPC goes, it's an acre or more of dirt, before they consider something that would come before you. Am I correct, Josh, or Mr.
You-
Carroll?
Well-
Yes, you're correct, because I've already done that. It's 1 acre.
It's 1
Is
acre.
the limit.
Yeah,
What does our code say?
Where does our code say 1 acre? Our
It
code
doesn't matter, that's set by
specify.
the Washington County Conservation District, because
Yeah.
I had many meetings with them about it.
and they also base that acre
Basically, they're saying this
on
is
the
our-
water that could possibly run down on it.
Right, it's all about runoff.
It's all about runoff.
Did he not have problems with runoff when he did the original excavating to
Well,
build the
it's still,
original
the
car wash?
point is because it's under 1 acre, the runoff created from less than an acre is not
That
substantial.
wasn't his problem, that was across the road anyway.
Yeah, they determined that came
That
from the other
was,
side.
that was years before.
My understanding, if I'm recalling correctly, I think this is 0.47 acres, if I recall correctly. So it wouldn't be subject to any of the soil erosion requirements of the conservation.
Right, and that's why they set it at 1 acre, because anything below that doesn't create enough runoff, even
Right.
if the entire thing ran off, they don't consider it a major event.
Had it been over an acre, he would have had to have applied to the county for that.
What would be the possibility of having somebody come and explain, do some sketching on that drawing and show us what's happening, so we can move it along?
I don't know I didn't see what was submitted, so I don't know what
This
I don't know if you've been provided with everything.
Plans from the first building and
Okay.
the water filtration system.
Okay, and I didn't know if it was sketched on there or
You have
not.
the drawing that I had a few minutes ago?
Yeah,
Give me.
it's back up.
I mean, it could really easily be, I think my mind would be easily resolved.
If it's under
Supposed to
1,000
show
square
the
feet, doesn't
existing
make any
building
difference,
and
you doesn't
the
need a permit.
proposed buildings.
I have that.
Okay, you said you hadn't seen it.
No, I said I've seen it, I have it.
Okay. I guess I didn't understand that.
So can you explain anything about it to us?
I didn't draw it, I'm not the engineer. I can't tell you that.
Well, I don't think we need an engineer's drawing, I just think we need somebody to explain.
And again, this isn't the proper forum for that.
For what?
I-
To present something that we believe falls under land development?
I would respectfully disagree that it falls under land development. Therefore, that's why I've said that this is not the proper forum. If you could find me any time that this board has reviewed a building permit application, I would,
Well, I'm not talking about a building permit application.
that's absolutely what you're
No,
talking
I'm
about.
talking
That's what
about
was submitted.
Following the land development portions of this ordinance.
It is being followed.
Well, our issue is that the building inspector wouldn't do the permit, right?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Okay, so how did it, so the building permit guy contacted the supervisors and said this isn't,
I didn't speak with them.
how did it get back, how did this even happen? And like, who does he
That's the
tell,
whole
who does he
shit.
report to? Or did he tell,
How
I'm
did
ra-
it get in front of you, is what she's
yeah, that's,
asking.
I'm not, I don't
I-
understand.
I'm rather
exactly.
curious about that too. I don't understand why it was sent here or why it came here or how it got here.
Who'd you guys receive it from?
My phone's in the car. I believe it was on an email sent from Tammy Imes to the office.
That's,
The building, the BCO said that it needed to go before the planning commission. It was on one of Tammy Imes's emails, I believe. And that's when she wanted you to explain everything to her.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna make a
Mr.
motion.
Carroll, I mean, what they filled out is this sheet right here, the top
Mhm.
sheet, which says the Donnival Township Commercial Building Permit Application.
Mhm.
That's how it ended up here. Well, that's all it ended up here in Donnival Township.
Exactly.
We still don't know how it ended up back at the planning
Correct.
commission until the question came up of whether or not it falls under code.
Again, given,
That's the argument.
and additionally, given past practice here, in addition to the definition of land development, I again respectfully say that it does not apply. You can certainly disagree with me, and that's up to you guys. But be that as it may, the issuance or denial of a permit is up to this board. That's pretty clear.
I would agree with you. But that's not what we're taking act.
Okay, but
I have no
still,
action on
but Doug Tarovich said it had to come back, he thought it needed to come back to the planning commission, but you're saying we don't oversee that. So
We don't
what do
oversee the building permit.
So what do we do now? Oh, so do we tell him he can go ahead and issue it?
No.
Or we don't tell him?
No, I believe it falls under the provisions of this, and we need to follow what this says.
Okay, but I'm just confused on what are we doing? Okay, so Kathy said she was gonna make a motion. What is it? I don't know what we're,
Yeah, I'm at the same place, Chair. I don't know what we should do with it at this point.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we table the Ward Car Wash application until the board can get further legal counsel on how to proceed.